All right, so today's topic for closer training is setting the table. So if you set the proper table, you're gonna slam dunk the close every time. Another thing with my closes is I have a lot less cancellations because you properly set your table. So you want to answer everything in the home so that there's nothing left undone. Some people are like, oh, your closes take a long time. Well, the setter works so hard to get you into that door for the appointment. You don't want to just quickly sell them something and then a day later they cancel. That's so ineffective for you and your setter that put in so many man hours to get that sale. So before I leave the house, I answer any questions. I send them my personal phone number. I'll take a picture of my ID badge and I'm like, hey, if you have any questions, reach out to me at any time. I also kind of let them know what's going on as far as who's going to reach out to them after the sale. So Bailey is going to be your customer experience manager. She's going to kind of guide you through the whole process. Fusion, or depending on who your installer is going to come to a site survey, fly a drone over your house, inspect your electrical, basically see if you're set up to go solar, and then they're going to write notes to create your final CAD design that we send in for permits if you're in the city. So I kind of let them know all these moving parts. I also set the right expectations. So I tell them, hey, you're in the county, most likely we could probably get you done in 14 to 15 days, but I don't want to over-promise, under-deliver, so I'm going to tell you 40 days. If we can smash it out before then, awesome. But I just kind of let them know that so that they're not anticipating. We live in a very fast-paced world where Amazon orders, you get it, you order it, it's here the next day. People's expectations, no one has patience anymore. There's also no customer service in any industry anymore. So the fact that we have Bailey reaching out to our customers is awesome. It separates us from cancellations too, because people want to be informed of what's going on when they just signed a $130,000 loan. So what I do, this is called the roadmap to the sale. So I go through all these steps before I even present numbers. As you see here, show price is at the end. If you show them the price right off the bat, they're just looking at the price. There's no value that you built. So I've been in a lot of trainings. When I was in the car industry, they would send us out to different states, and we would train with this guy named Joe Verdi. He's awesome. He would really stress on this part, so it's part of the discovery of the sale. So what I do when I walk into the home is I'm pulling out my notepad here, and I sit down. This is how you properly set the table. Okay, so I walk into the house. First thing I do when I walk into the house, if the house is super nice inside or whatever it may be, give them a little up, like gas the customer up a little bit. So I'll walk in and I'll be like, hey, Mike told me so much about you guys. I'm so glad to meet you. I'm Chasten, you're professional. You shake their hand. Wow, this backsplash is amazing. Did you guys pick this out? Like, you guys have great taste. Like, I'm giving them ups. So people like that. They like to get complimented on their things. So I walk in, we're already off to a good start. So I set some stuff down on the table. I don't explain it at first. I'm just showing them. It's almost like you're sliding these things in here without them knowing. So I'm just like setting these in front of them on the table. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get organized a minute. You guys can take a look at these slides. I go, this is kind of 5 main questions people have. It's probably the questions you have too. If you have anything, write them down throughout it. So I'm just setting these in front of them. So I'm getting them this kind of thing like that. And then so as you can see, these are all bundles from deals I've done this blitz, where I write down them a handwritten, kind of like a bill of health, if you will. So I sit down with them. The first thing I do is I write down their first and last name. Then I ask them, this is part of the discovery phase, because you're gonna learn how to close them on what hot points they have. So the first thing I say is, okay, so-and-so, in this case, Helen Agape. She's on my deal list up here. So I write down her name and I go, okay, Helen, just so I can understand your energy situation a little bit and your home efficiency, because you're the professional. What happens too is during a close, don't let the customer derail your close. Don't let them run the show. If you give them a way to run the show, they're gonna run the whole presentation. That's not what I do. I'm in control. I'm the professional. Your questions are valued, but you're gonna wait for me to discuss what I need to discuss with you. So you have maintain that control throughout the whole thing. So the first thing I do, because they keep butting in, they're like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, we'll get to that. Write those questions down. Those are great questions. You're hearing what they're saying, but you're not letting them run the show. You're the professional. So I write down their name, and then I say, okay, so I can understand your home efficiency a little bit better. Are you gas and electric, or are you fully electric? So if they say fully electric, I'm gonna know how to sell that, because if they're gas and electric, the wintertime their gas bill is gonna be high to heat the home, and in the summertime it's gonna be high for electricity. So now you can sell them on, because they're gonna give you their electricity bill in the wintertime, and it's gonna be way low because they're ran off of gas. So to build value in winter right now is gonna be pretty hard when they're having the smallest bill they've ever had. So then you can touch on that. So the first thing is I'm asking them home efficiency. So, okay, cool. And then how many people live here? And I'm taking these notes down so that they think that I am really custom tailoring this to their lifestyle, their house. So, okay, cool. How many people live here? Okay. And then is that an electric water heater, or is that ran off of gas? Because every time someone takes a shower, the kilowatts are going up. So I write this stuff down. They see me taking notes too, so they feel like I'm more engaged to them, to custom tailor the design for them. So start writing that stuff down. I'm like, do you have any big power suckers? Like, do you have pool, spa, whatever? So I write that stuff down. And then after that, I'm going into current events. Okay, so current events, this is before I even get into the proposal. So current event is this. I have all my stuff organized in a note here, so I can go right down the list. So like right here, I first bust this out. I'm building pain, but I'm also showing them current events. So a great quarter, I say Encore reports $229 million in profit so far in the scorching Texas summer. So I go, so you keep seeing that delivery charge on your bill? Yes. Okay, well, just so you know, in 3 months, Encore made $229 million off you. I've seen people's faces just go from happy to pissed. You're building pain. You're making them hate their utility provider that they've been rocking with for the last however many years. Okay, part of the discovery too, I forgot to mention, is I asked them how long they've lived here. So if they just moved in, they're not gonna know any of this stuff. If they've been there at least 2 years, part of the area that I'm currently knocking in, 2 years ago, they came through and they upgraded all their meters. So I'll hit on that and I'll be like, oh, so you've been here for 2 years? Okay, yeah. So you remember when they came through and upgraded your meter can? And they're like, yep. I go, yeah, that was in preparation for solar. And now they're already like, wow, like we need to go solar. So you're kind of instilling that in their brain. The next thing is I go to another current event.
Bless you.
I go, solar power is bailing out Texas. So I start to show them this article. I'll read a little bit from it, and I'm basically making it so that like everyone's going solar. You'd be silly to not go solar. So I'm already kind of setting this up.
Holy shit.
That's like a solar farm. But yeah, so it says, enjoying that AC, I'll read that. Thank the mighty power of the sun and renewable energy source keeping that grid afloat. So I'm like, have you guys ever heard of a rolling blackout? I kind of hit on that, or brownout. And they're like, yeah, actually our neighborhood was shut off for a few hours at a scheduled date. And I'm like, yeah, that's because 130 years ago when the grid was built, where we're standing right now used to be a cattle ranch. And I'll hit on that and be like, there's so much growth for the 4th largest megaplex that when we designed the infrastructure, it wasn't set up for this exponential growth. All these people keep flocking here for all the awesome benefits, no state income tax, great climate, that kind of thing. So I'm building, I'm not just talking, I'm literally showing them that this isn't just coming out of my mouth. I'm not trying to sell you, this is real things that are happening in the community. So then I go into this next one. It's kind of the same article. You don't have to do this one, but it's like wind and solar bailing out Texas. It's just current events, it's credible. So then after that, after I show current events, I start building the pain. So I go into my proposal here and I go, I ask them, hey, so on average, and it depends on if they're full gas or electric, but I go, on average, this is also how I'm calculating my PPW on the fly. So I say, hey, on average, what is your lowest bill? What is your kind of one that you're pretty used to seeing? And then what is one of those just outrageous bills? So now I have my low, my medium, and my high. I want to fall my PPW and the solar deal in between, right in that medium level, so that, hey, we're below your current average bill. So I walk in there with like a 3.5 is what I try to sell it at. But if I have to drop my PPW, I will to get the sale, not by a bunch, but drop it a little bit. But then if I know that they're just getting absolutely ran the coals with TXU or something, I can bump it up to like a 4.0 and make some good money. So I kind of ask them where they're at, and then I get right into the proposal. So I'm like, hey, our engineers custom designed this. I tell them how we got their kilowatts too. And sometimes, like, I have Texas Smart Meter, I'll show them their kilowatts, be like, I can pull this report all the way back to 2021. So now you're showing them that you're credible. You're not just guessing when you're building them a design. You're like, hey, I have your actual usage here. I can show you every single month. And the funniest part is when they show me one of their bills, I'm like, yep, see how you used 2,228 kilowatts? Yeah, here it is right here. I've got it all written out. So then I get into my proposal and I speed past it because I don't want to show them numbers yet. I'm like ripping past it because I'm in control. So I go, so you can agree, Mr. Homeowner, that your current average is about 195, right? And it is. This thing's pretty accurate. They're like, yep. Yeah, this thing's pretty accurate. You can adjust it too, but I go, so this is pretty, and I get them to agree, and I get them to say yes, so that this isn't just me saying this, they're agreeing. Like, okay, so what this is an inflation calculator, Mr. Homeowner. Over the next 25 years, this is gonna show you what your bills are gonna go to if inflation stays at its same steady rate through that delivery charge. I go, so you would have spent $97,311 worth of rent money just giving away, making them rich, making them $229 million in 3 months. So they're pissed about this number, and I'm hitting on the current event that I just placed in their head. So they're like, now they're kind of just like, this is sticker shock. They're like, oh my gosh, 97,000 I'm just giving away? Like, that's insane. Because most people are on auto pay, they pay their bill, keep the lights on, never see it till next month, and then it's a whole other thing. So I'm building as much pain as I possibly can. Now I start going into building value. I go, did you know, Mr. Homeowner, that you can add $29,341 into positive equity into your home year one? I go, just from you living here, you know this as a homeowner, that if you moved in a month or in a year, you would have, just from physically sitting on the property, you're already adding home equity because more people keep moving here, houses are harder to find. You're already building value, but with solar, you can add another $29,341 to the value of your home. Coolest part about solar is, yeah, it's gonna up your property value, but it's tax exempt. It won't up your taxable value. So your taxes stay the same. We just added a massive home improvement to your house with no money out of pocket if you qualify. So now they're loving the value end of solar. They're like, sweet, we can add this much value just by signing up to have a lower bill. And then I touch on, unlike pest control, security, lawn mowing service, any of these services, they add a bill to your life. All I'm doing is taking a bill, Mr. Homeowner, that you're already obligated to pay and making it much lower and fixed for the cost of ownership of solar. Be like, your money currently just goes out the window for rent, right? And I get them to nod and say yes, and I go, okay, so with this, you can build positive ROI into the home, into your investment. That's why you went hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, right? Well, yeah, because you didn't want to rent, right? Yep. Those cars in the driveway, do you own those? Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to rent. And I just keep building value. So then I show them apples to apples, okay? So renting versus owning. So like usually if they have their bills handy, I'll try to add up what they're physically spending, and then I'll kind of wait to show them the numbers. Then I go, okay, so I'm sure at this point, I'm giving you guys a lot of information at one moment. It's a lot to digest, right? And they're like, yeah, we're kind of overwhelmed. And I'm like, yeah, it's your first time hearing about solar. I have years of experience. So then I get into warranty. So I start showing them, I'll first pull up the solar durability video. So I'll be like, this is gonna answer a lot of your questions you might have. Solar's came a long way in the last 5 years. So then I go right back to my handy notes here. Click this. Now this is for you guys, buyer beware.
Thinking about going.
Okay, so this screwed me once. Turn down your volume while this BS loads, because I had to say, thinking about going solar, don't. You get free panels from the government, and it kind of wrecks your sale, because they're like, don't, whoa, we shouldn't be buying panels from you. So let this play out with your volume way down, and then once it gets to the physical deal queued up, I also wait till it says, it goes past the Q cell part where it says made in Germany, because then they're like, what the heck, the panels are USA made. This is just a reference, guys. These aren't like the exact panels. So I'll queue up the video about here, and then I'll hit play once it starts going into its thing. Because I don't want them to be like, Germany, even though there might be design there, they're not made there, you know? So.
Solar? Before you do, see what others pay
See,
for
and then
3
that
to
kinda
10
wrecks you, 'cause
kilowatt
it's like,
systems
don't
in
go
your area,
solar, and you're like,
what
oh,
you should pay
shit.
based on recent installations near you.
Okay, so I queue up this.
Solar S.
Jason's like, don't listen to her, she's blonde.
So you don't want this either engineered in Germany. We're using Boviettes in some cases, so they're USA made. So I pause it right here, and then this is where I queue up the video. I go, hey guys, you're probably having a lot of questions on weather. This is gonna answer it. It's also gonna show how virtually indestructible our panels are, because I'm also building value here about how kick-ass our panels are, how badass our product is. So I start playing it here, and now I'm engaging them in a video. It also gives me a chance to breathe. So like, what about hail? I go, hail falls from the atmospheric level at 49 miles an hour, and our actual requirement is 50. So anyhow, you guys have all seen this video, you know what we're talking about. So after the video, I then jump into warranties, because now I've got them engaged on how sick our panels are. Now I go right into warranties. So I'm still building value. So I start going through our warranties, the 25, the 25, the 25, you guys know the warranties. So go to the warranties. Now I'm getting to the price, because now I've got them right where I want them set up. They see the current events. They have a ton of pain. They've seen the value of going solar. This part you can almost flip flop. Sometimes I'll put it down here, the apples to apples, rent versus own. Actually, that is a fact. So I'm sorry. Put this over here. So I'm showing them the warranties, then I'm going into the price. I'm like, okay guys, so like anything, nothing that's great is free. I go, yeah, the installation costs you $0 up front, however, the panels do cost. And then I go, and I'll 8-mile it before it even happens. I'll go, a lot of homeowners will ask me, how much does one individual panel cost? I don't know. I go, all I'm doing is I'm the engineer here on this. I'm showing you, I'm the consultant. I'm showing you what you need to achieve full offset so you never get a utility bill. I go, however, we sell bundled packages. So I go, this includes warranties, equipment costs, all that stuff. So I don't know the individual breakdown, because this happens all the time in a close. How much is a panel? Because they think they're gonna go out and do it themselves. I go, also, it costs X amount of dollars for permits. You have to have a $10,000 license. I was like, there's a lot of moving parts to solar. I go, so I don't know. This is the bundled package, and it gives you peace of mind for the next 25 years. Let us do all the work. So then I just kind of 8-mile that. And then I start showing them the price. So I go, as you know, it's an investment. It's a good investment. There's good debt, there's bad debt. I go, good debt is like your home that we're sitting in. Bad debt is that awesome Corvette you have outside. I go, it's fun, but it doesn't make you money. So we kind of go like that. And then I go right into the price. So now I zoom way up here without them seeing, and I zoom it right to here. Now down below, it'll say $14. A lot of times this is like their meter can, but I don't want them to get all screwed up when they see new utility bill. Because like I said, you're in control of the presentation. I zoom up, not that you're being dishonest, but it's just, you don't want to confuse them. So just, here you go. Your bill is $214. And these folks actually added 2 extra panels. They wanted to make sure for sure they're covered. So they were the ones that texted me in the group chat that said, hey, can you add 2 extra panels? I'm like, absolutely, upping my commission. This is awesome. So $214. So their highest bill was like, on average, their average was like $250. So the guy originally was like, well, why don't you add panels to make this number $250 what I'm currently paying on my low average? And I go, sir, that's overkill, and then you're gonna start exporting it at a commercial rate. I don't want you to get screwed over. So I said, let's just keep it down to here. Yeah, up the PPW. So yeah, so you keep it right here at 214. Okay, so they're stoked. At this point, they're super interested in going solar because you laid it all out. Okay, so I go, yep, your payment's 214. You also won't receive a payment for the first 60 days if it's with dividend. If it's with GoodLeap, it's usually 90 days. I go, reason why they do that is they want the transition to be smooth. I said, Mr. Homeowner, let's say we get you installed hypothetically in February 15th. You're gonna have 15 days where you're gonna have to have a prorated bill from Reliant. After the prorated bill, it allows your solar to generate for a couple months, so you get ahead of the game, so you're already producing more, and then by the time your payments start at 214, your solar has had time to build up production. So I kind of explain how that works. Then I go into the tax credit. So I don't show them the price yet, I just go into tax credit. Part of that discovery too, forgot to mention, I asked them, do you usually pay in at the end of the year, or do you usually get money back? Then I'm kind of vague with the tax credit because I don't want to get screwed over. I don't know what their situation is. I say, hey, talk to your CPA. I'm not a CPA. I just know what I've heard in the past. But again, I don't want to set you guys up for failure, so talk to your CPA on how this is conducted. All I know is that the federal government will pay for 30% of your system while this program is currently around. I go, the state of Texas and the federal government is incentivizing the crap out of this because they want folks to go solar without resistance. They want you to welcome you with open arms rather than saying we're going to put a lease PPA system on your house. So I go once, and this is part of the Ronald Reagan Act back in the 70s or 80s whenever he implemented it. By 2030, 50% of the United States has to be on renewable energies, otherwise the utility companies get charged $2.3 billion in fines. I've read that on the internet. Everything you're getting on the internet, I don't know if it's 100% true, but I
100%.
read it. So
Google told me.
So then what I say to that is, hey guys, I get this a lot too. Homeowners, you know, they've been used to paying their power company for so many years. It's easy, right? And I go, so that's kind of an easy thing to do. You're used to doing it. This is something new. This is a way to generate, this is a way to take a bill that we're already paying and, you know, flip it for ownership. And then I basically, from that point on, I'll go into the physical cost. But before I do, I'll do this. I'll be like, okay, so if you stay with the electric company, you're at 97,000, right? Like, yep. I go, okay, so the same apples to apples now, you show them this number. And you go, okay, your system starts out at $63,138.73. Now, the federal government is gonna pay for 30% of this system, which equates to $18,941.62. If you reapply this tax credit to your system and pay dividend this money instead of you keeping it or whatever happens with your tax situation, your system then would drop to $44,000. I go, does ownership at 44,000 look a lot better than 97,000? And I show them this visually. And then they're like, well, yeah, and I go, so solar's a no-brainer, right? And they say yes. And I go, it's just our job to educate you on how it all works. And then after that part, I show them the process. So I go down, because at this point they're interested. I'll also take a minute for Q&A. I'll be like, hey, do you guys have any questions? Yes, no, whatever, you answer them. And I go, okay guys, here's the process. So this is all hypothetical, and this might have been very informational for you folks, but if you don't qualify, you know, it's just kind of more of an educational experience. And I kind of preset that up because I'm like really honing in on them qualifying. And then they start asking, well, how do we qualify? What makes us qualify? That's buying questions because they're excited. So I'll kind of mess around with that. And then I go into, okay, so guys, we're at the savings report. I'm just showing you what it could be like if you switched over to solar. I go, but until we send in the application, you might be still stuck with Reliant or whatever. So they're like, okay, well, let's get approved. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna grab a little bit of information from you. I go, if you get an approval here, I'm gonna send you 2 documents. One is gonna be from your new utility provider, if you will. I go, so instead of paying Reliant, you're gonna pay a company called Dividend, or you're gonna pay a company called GoodLeap. I go, again, no payments for the first 90 days if it's GoodLeap, no payments with Dividend for the first 60 days. I go, okay, I'm gonna send you the documents. The other one is gonna be from either TriSmart or Fusion. I'm a Fusion guy, so I'll say it's from Fusion. It's gonna have my name on it because I hold all the liability here. I go, I'm the one presenting this information to you. We take great pride in our work, so you're gonna see my name on those install docs. I'm gonna say, once you sign those, in about 48 to 72 hours, you're gonna be reached out from a company called Fusion. They're gonna be conducting your site survey. They're gonna fly a drone over your house. They're gonna look at your electrical. They're gonna look at your roof plane, make sure that everything is sound before the installation. They're also gonna take measurements to see if we can fit all the panels on your original design. That could change. I go, once they get all of their information, we're gonna send you a CAD drawing. I'm gonna get an email, you're gonna get an email. When you approve it, I approve it, we send it in. If you live in the city, Mr. Homeowner, it's gonna take some time to get permits. If you live in the county, there's no permits. And they kind of laugh, yeah, we're in the county, we built our pool, we didn't need a permit. Awesome, same deal here. Then you go into step 6, we're gonna pick a date of your choosing when you're gonna be home to install you. Usually installation on a smaller system takes about 4 to 6 hours. On a larger one, 8 hours plus could lead into the next day. Okay, cool. Step 7, we're gonna make sure you have permission to operate. After the install, we're gonna turn that Eaton disconnect switch from the off position to on position. You're gonna start saving money. And then basically I stop at that point and you just don't say a word. After you say all this stuff, just stop. And the first person that talks loses, like you've seen this in Wolf of Wall Street, but you just stop. And then even if it's awkward, I just kind of sit there and they're like, well, let's see if we qualify. I'm like, okay. Like acting like it's no skin off my back if they qualify or not. So I jump in, I start setting everything up, and then I always like to mess with my homeowners, so I say, all right guys, and I just kind of look down and sigh. I'm like, do you want to know the good news or the bad news? And they're like, oh shit, give me the bad news. And I'm like, well, the bad news is Reliant just lost a customer. Congratulations, you're going solar. And I shake their hand, and I'm like, you qualified, and this aha moment. And then after that, I send them the docs, they sign everything. I send them a personal text with my phone number, and it's always the same generic message I have saved in my phone. I just changed their physical name. Hey, so-and-so, great to meet you. This is Chaston, Elite Energy, blah, blah, blah. Send them our website, send them a screenshot of our 5-star or our 4.9 out of 5-star reviews. I say, hey, if you have any questions throughout the process, I'll take a picture of my ID badge, and I say it's, you can relate a face to a name. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out. The reason why I do this is if they're ever on the even cusp of trying to cancel, they can hit me first before they cancel their loan docs. When you leave the house, all they have is the documentation that you have. I've had people call me, Well, it says here I have 10 days to cancel. Then I send them the elite cancel policy before I leave the house too. So they see it and I'm like, this trumps everything. I go, we're not in the business of placing handcuffs on you or getting you into a contract. If you don't want to do it, we're not gonna do it either. I go, the moment the installation truck pulls up, you tell them to kick rocks, that's where the project ends. I go, sales companies will try to get you locked in and have you scared under this $2,000 clause that you owe them money if you cancel. That's not how you do business, and that's how we maintain such a high rating, is because our customers are loving the process and want to go solar with us. It totally relieves them, and they're like, oh, okay. And then I've had people ask me about the tax credit. I've had them call me. The best part about giving your number is you can fix the problem they're having before they get to cancellation period. Before they auto cancel on you and then you have to fix it after the fact and rerun docs. It's like I'm their first line of communication if there's trouble. So after that, you run on to the next sale and smash that one. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys.
Yes, sir. That was awesome.